What's up guys, I'm Andy from 1A Auto. In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the front strut assemblies in this 2001 BMW 325Xi. If you need parts for your vehicle, click the link in the description and head over to 1aauto.com. I raised the vehicle. We're using a 2-post lift. If you're doing this at your house, you can use the jack and jack stands. I'm going to remove the tire to gain extra access. It's going to make it a little bit easier. I'm going to use a 17mm socket and an air gun. You can always use a breaker bar. Take these lug nuts out, or lug studs out. I'm going to get to the last one. I'm just going to hold the wheel so it doesn't fall. Take the last one out. Grab the wheel, pull it off. I want to loosen up this nut on the link right here. I'm just going to spray some rust penetrant on the nut just to help loosen it up. I'll take a 16mm socket and a ratchet, and I'm going to loosen it first. Then I'm going to switch to a wrench. I just turned the wheel a little bit to gain access to this nut so that I can use a 16mm wrench on the nut, and I'm going to hold the stud with a T27 socket and a ratchet. Check to see if a T30 fits. This one may be rusted and that's why it's a T27, but this one fits. That'll hold the stud. Okay, after a while I was able to get the T30 on the stud. I think it was just rusted, that's why it wouldn't go on originally. Loosened up that nut. Take that off there. Take the nut off so you can slide the stud out. I'm just gonna spray some rust penetrant on this bolt. It's pretty rusty. Right there, let it soak for a little bit. And just take a 18mm socket and a breaker bar. Loosen this bolt up. I'm going to switch to a ratchet, or if you have an air tool, you can use an air gun. Take this bolt out. Take that bolt out, and there's a bracket right here. Just set that bracket aside. The brake hose goes through the bracket and the ABS wire. Move that aside. So you want to take some kind of punch because we want to move the spindle down, or the knuckle down. And we're going to place it right here. Then you can take a pretty heavy hammer. We're going to tap it down. And as you can see, the strut is going. The strut is staying stationary and the knuckle is going down. At this point, it's pretty loose. I can just wiggle it back and forth, slide this down, slide this out of the way. Be careful with the drive shaft, well, the front CV shaft. You don't want to have that get pulled out or anything. Slide that to the side. Just make sure that stays like that. Should be okay. I am going to take a bungee cord, just hook onto here, and hook around the lower control arm. I'm just trying to prevent this whole thing from sliding out. Just hook that there. And hook this over here. That should be good. Then it's not going to pop the CV boot out or anything. Right, now I'm going to take these 3 nuts off. I'm going to use a 13mm socket and a ratchet. Be careful not to arc out your ratchet on this stud right here. There should be a cover on here. This vehicle does not have one. So, take these off. All right, from underneath, I'm actually going to grab the strut itself. And then from on top, I'll just take out this last nut and just use a gun. You can use an air gun. Loosen it up. Take it out. Just slide it down. And slide it out. So with the strut, I want this little tab right here facing towards the vehicle, and there's this little index tab that's gonna line up right there. So slide this in from underneath, just like that. Get the studs to go through, and I'll take these nuts. I'm gonna get these all started. And you can kind of see where you want to tighten this down, kind of where it was before. Then when you go to have an alignment done, it'll be closer. It's a good idea to have an alignment done after you do this repair to make sure your tires don't get burned out going down the road. Okay, I am gonna leave these two nuts a little bit loose first because I want to slide this into position before we tighten those up. So this little tab is gonna go through that groove. So spin that in the proper location. Push that like that. Just wiggle that a little bit. So with that lined up, I'm just gonna take a floor jack and get underneath the control arm, right under the ball joint. Actually, I'll take that off. And start pressing up on that. Make sure it goes in there correctly. Just wiggle it back and forth a little bit. So I'm just pushing, just using the floor jack. Put a little bit of pressure, pushing up. Be careful with your fingers, don't get anything caught. So our strut has bottomed out on our knuckle, which is good. So I'm gonna take the bolt. It's probably a good idea to get a replacement bolt for this. But make sure you take this bracket, line the bracket up, and slide the bolt in. Now if you can't get the bolts into this position, then your strut's probably not all the way down or it's twisted. But there is that guide pin that should line up with that channel, so you should be all set. Just gonna take a 18mm socket and a ratchet. Just tighten this down first. I'm gonna take my 18mm socket and a torque wrench. I'm gonna torque this bolt to 74 foot-pounds. All right, that's good. Now I'm gonna tighten these upper nuts down. Oops. Now with these nuts tightened down, I'm just gonna use a 12mm socket and a torque wrench. I'm gonna tighten these to 21 foot-pounds. Now with the strut all tightened in there, I can lower the floor jack. At this point, you can remove the bungee cord. Take that off. Keep that sway bar link. Slide that in position. Take a 14mm wrench, put it on the back side on the stud. And take the nut, get the nut started. Take your 15mm socket and ratchet, tighten this up. Then use the torque wrench and torque this nut to 47 foot-pounds. Now I'm going to put the wheel on. Just line up the holes. Take one of the lug studs, get that started. And I can grab the other ones. Now I'll just tighten these down. And then I'm gonna lower the vehicle and torque them. All right, now I'm gonna use a 17mm socket and a torque wrench. I'm gonna torque these lug bolts to 95 foot-pounds. I'm gonna torque them in a star pattern so that the wheel gets tightened down evenly. Then I'm just gonna go around again, just double check. Good to go.
Thanks for watching. If you want the parts to do it yourself, check out oneaauto.com, the place for DIY auto repair.